Hello, family. Today's episode deals with sensitive subject matter that could possibly trigger someone who has experienced domestic abuse or is currently experiencing domestic abuse. The goal of our show is to help improve the lives of our listeners, our family. If you feel overwhelmed or disturbed at any point during this episode, please take some time for yourself and pause this episode before returning to complete it. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please access the resources provided in the description and seek help as soon as possible. Thank you for watching.
Welcome to Relatively Related, everyone. I'll be your host for today. My name is Tari Phillip.
I'm Trudy Penny.
I'm Terry Phillip.
And I'm Troy Penny.
All right. So today, as I mentioned, I'm going to be the host. But, we like to start it off with something a little bit fun and interesting. So, as you guys know, we always try to emphasize the fact that we're from the Caribbean, the West Indies, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Whatever you want to call it. So what I'll do
Proud
is...
to be from the West Indies.
Yes. Very proud. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each of you, like you'll have turns, right? And you have to tell me I'll give you two facts. And you have to tell me which one is true and which one is false, right?
Oh, wow.
So if you get it correct,
Man, that would suck if I don't get any.
So it's kind of like two truths and a lie, but it's not two truths. It's just a truth and a lie. So
yeah,
I should have just said it's false, true or false, basically. That's what it is. All right, cool.
So yeah, you get a point, and at the end we're gonna see who get the most points. But you might tie because they're not too hard. They're not too hard.
Okay.
So we're gonna go by. So in the first round, we're gonna go by age. So we'll start with Troy, and then we'll go Trudy, and then Terry, and then we'll flip it like Terry, Trudy, Troy. The next round. All right.
Sounds good.
So the
We're
first.
also going by like age and beauty because I'm also like
Yeah, you're
the sexiest one of all.
You're the best looking one. All right. So the first. So I'll say like two things straight up. Like iPhones are made by Apple or iPhones are made by Samsung.
Okay.
And you're gonna say which one is true, which one is false. But it's all related to Caribbean islands, right?
Okay.
All right. So the national dish of Montserrat. So this is point one. Fact one. The national dish of Montserrat is goat water, known as goat water. Or the national dish of Montserrat is fried flying fish with spicy gravy called spicy fish.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with goat water because
And which goat water is false or true?
goat water is true.
Okay, goat water is true and the spicy fish is false, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, spicy fish. I mean, come on.
So that is correct. The national dish of Montserrat is actually
Water.
goat water, and the name for it is
Wow.
goat
I
water.
go by the
It's a
next
soup,
wave.
right?
Yeah, it's a
It's
kind
a
of soup
soup.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I was just like, that's so true. Like a lot of things in the Caribbean, the name for it is just a description of it.
Yeah,
Very
that's pretty much it.
straightforward. Very straightforward.
Goat water.
Very
All right,
straightforward.
so
But the thing, like one thing I realized that's Caribbean is water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like calling a meal water.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
just a Caribbean.
that's true.
thing.
That's true. That's
I didn't
true.
think about that.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So that was a good way to get it. Okay, Trudy. The first fact is 3 Caribbean islands are part of the European Union.
Oh, man.
Or 3 Caribbean islands are dependents of Brazil.
Oh, Trudy was probably thinking she has to name the island.
Yeah, I was like,
No,
oh
no,
my
no, no,
God.
no, no.
Okay.
Geography.
So Brazil or
Yeah,
the
or they
EU.
belong. Yeah, 3 Caribbean islands belong to the European Union, or 3 Caribbean islands are dependents, like belong to Brazil. Which one is true and which one is false?
I think the first one is true.
The
EU?
the EU one?
Yeah.
Okay, that is correct.
God.
It makes sense though.
Yeah, I'm
because-
like Brazil.
Yeah,
I'm
a lot
like,
of
who
our money
Yeah.
has the queen and
Yeah.
stuff on
Yeah.
it.
Do you
too.
guys
Yeah.
want to? It's hard, but do you guys want to guess which three islands are still part of the European Union?
Oh yeah, that's easy. It's Trinidad, it's Guyana, and it's Jamaica.
Christmas Island.
No, it's
Christmas Island.
There's a Christmas Island.
Yeah,
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 there's a
it's
Christmas
Martinique,
Okay.
Guadeloupe, and Saint Martin.
Oh,
Okay.
So Martinique and Guadeloupe, they're still part of France, and so is Saint Martin.
that makes sense.
The French
Yeah.
side of
French
Saint
side.
Martin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
so-
true. Straight up,
I
yeah.
So-
have a friend from St. Martin.
Oh yeah, that's cool. You guys are doing really well, guys. Okay, are you guys enjoying the little facts about the
Yeah.
Caribbean?
I
Okay.
actually, this is pretty cool.
All right,
Hopefully, I don't ruin it now.
all right, Terry. So this one is the first fact is over 75% of the Caribbean lives on just 2 islands, or over 75% of the Caribbean people speak English.
Oh, over 75 of people speak English. That makes more sense.
Is that the true? That's the true one you're
That's
saying?
the truth. Yeah.
That is actually incorrect.
Ooh.
Wait. It's one
I
of
was
the.
thinking most people live in Jamaica and Trinidad, right? They cover a large portion, but I just
No,
Well,
no,
not-
no. So
What are the
So the
islands?
2 islands, and this one, that's what makes it tricky. So it's Hispaniola, which is Haiti and Dominica combined. That's one
True,
island.
true, true.
And the second island is Cuba.
Cuba, yeah. I was
Cuba
thinking
has
Cuba.
11 million
Yeah.
people. Jamaica only has like
Yeah,
2 or
Cuba,
2.5.
yeah.
Trinidad only has
True,
1
yeah,
million.
yeah, yeah.
But Cuba alone has like 11 million already.
Yeah.
So between those two, they have like almost every person in the Caribbean lives on one of those 2 islands.
You know,
Yeah.
I would have sworn Jamaica had like 11 million people.
way-
Like I would have.
When you meet a
sworn-
Jamaican, you think they're like
when you meet a proper Jamaican,
Yeah.
that's like proud
Like,
of
let
where
me
they
hold
come
my
from.
tongue.
Like no. I would swear that it's like 11 million.
Yeah, like Jamaica is actually number 4 in the Caribbean with 2.7 million.
Wow.
Trinidad is 5th with 1 million. Puerto Rico is 3rd with 3 million. 4th. And then Cuba is already 11 million. Haiti is 10 million.
Wow.
And Dominican is 10 million. So
That
those
is
3, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So that,
that makes sense.
yeah, and I was like, they're gonna think the English because
And
you
that's
think
true.
most
Oh,
people,
that's
but
so
if you
true.
think about it,
The
more,
top 3
they're
are
all
like not.
they're all
Yeah.
French and
yeah,
Spanish. Cuba is all
Wow,
Spanish.
Cuba.
Haiti
Wow,
is
yeah.
French, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Dominican Republic is all Spanish. So there's more
Rico.
non-English
That makes
speakers in the
more
Caribbean
sense,
than
yeah.
English speakers.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
So basically, we're foreign.
yeah, we're foreign.
foreign.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so now Terry, you again, because we're flipping it around this round. So you again, you gotta try to get a point now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So so one of the islands with the smallest population, actually of the official listing, was Montserrat, and Montserrat only has 5,000 people. That's the first fact. Or the second fact is Trinidad. It has a population of over 2 million people.
Wait, didn't you just tell us?
I
No,
just-
I was like, wait.
I was hoping you
didn't
guys didn't catch it.
tell us
I
the
wasn't planning to.
population?
Don't
All
worry.
right, Terry, you're paying attention.
Which one, Terry? Just get a free point. You're already.
Yeah, Montserrat.
Yeah, Montserrat only has 5,000
Yeah.
people.
There you go.
Yeah,
And
'cause
I was.
you just literally said that.
Yeah. I wasn't planning to say what Trinidad population was, but I was thinking, have you guys met someone from Montserrat?
No,
I don't think so.
No.
You know of Montserrat.
I
but,
know
like,
of
have
it.
you
Never
met someone,
I've
right?
never
from
met
there,
someone
yeah.
They
from
only have 5,000 people official, like listed based on 2017 population estimates. That's crazy.
So, okay, if we have any family members, any new family members who
Introduce
joined
yourself.
Yeah.
and they're from Montserrat, introduce
Hello.
yourself.
Yeah, say hi. Okay, so now Trudy, yours, right?
Oh boy.
It's going to come down between you guys for who wins because Terry, he's technically has half a point. 'cause-
Yeah.
So Trudy, so there's 2, right? And these are about our friends to the south. Trinidad and Tobago. These two facts.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know, in Trinidad.
Yeah,
how are you
So
feeling?
the first Trinidad fact is that Trinidad has the largest carnival in the world. And the second fact is Trinidad has one of the hottest peppers in the world.
Oh, I know this
Okay.
one. I know this one.
So the fact that Trinidad has the largest carnival, that's false because I believe it's
Yeah.
Brazil who
Yeah,
has the
it is.
largest.
It is.
And yeah, so then the hottest pepper.
Yeah,
is,
they have one of the hottest
Which
peppers.
one is that? 'Cause
Do you
I
guys
actually
know
wanna
what the name of the pepper is?
Ghost peppers?
I
No?
think I thought it was a Scotch something, but I have it. Let me just get it right.
Oh,
here.
another fun fact about Trinidad having.
Oh, sorry, the Moruga scorpion chili pepper.
Scorpion pepper.
One
Oh,
point.
wow.
Troy, you know how you follow the Scoville thing? 1.2 million Scoville.
Wow.
I gotta
Yeah.
try that. I gotta try that.
Yeah.
But I was saying another one of the hottest things that Trinidad has is the women. Anyway. Continue.
Trudy, are you from Trinidad?
I mean, the
I'm sure we
Caribbean
have
on a
family
whole.
from there.
No, the Caribbean on a whole has some of the most beautiful women.
Of course,
So
of course,
obviously,
of course.
Trudy's gonna
That's
be
true.
fall
Yeah.
into that
good,
category.
good one. I like that, Troy.
Yeah.
And now for Troy. Okay, so the last one is Troy. The two facts, right? The first is about the Cayman Islands.
Okay.
The Cayman Islands has more businesses than people, or Antigua has more beaches than businesses.
Oh man.
Okay, so I'm all about Caribbean excellence, and I want the one with the businesses, like more businesses, to be true. But I don't know. You know what? They have more businesses than they have people. You said, right?
The Cayman Islands have more businesses than people.
But if they have all these businesses, how do people in them go work in them businesses and them? Okay, based on that alone, based off of logical reasoning, I'm gonna go with the beaches one.
Okay.
But I really hope the businesses one is.
Wait, more
is-
beaches than
more
businesses?
beaches than
Yeah.
businesses.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll go with that one. But I think
Okay.
if you have beaches as a Caribbean island, then you also have the businesses because it's the whole traveling tourism thing. But anyways,
Oh, man.
I'm gonna say the beaches, more beaches.
Okay, so
Wait, hold on, man. No, your face.
no,
your face.
I just have a plain face.
Your face looks kind of,
No,
like, you're like,
let me
okay.
just keep my face plain.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. I'm going to say, okay, but if you have businesses than you have people, that means that you have, no, but you'd be exporting it. Okay, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to go with beaches, then businesses.
Okay, so one of the most famous things about
Businesses.
Antigua
Then
is that they
beaches.
have a beach that you can go on every single day. Most people
yeah.
say Antigua
Okay.
has
Yeah.
like 365 beaches. You could go one every day,
Okay.
but they actually do have more businesses than
Wow, Terry.
like just last year alone, they had like a couple thousand new businesses. So they have more businesses than beaches.
You really spun that like a game show host. Like you really
But
made me think.
the Cayman Islands, right? They have 59. Sorry, I don't want to say the wrong number on the podcast. Yeah, 59,000 based on 2017 estimates. People, but over 100,000 businesses.
Whoa.
Because, and here's the key,
banking?
guys. If you guys think about it, whenever you hear someone is doing an offshore
Offshore
business,
account,
where
yeah.
do they go?
Cayman
Their offshore
Islands.
account
Hide that money.
to siphon money.
Cayman Islands.
Yeah, because
yeah.
so Troy, your reasoning was right. Like, how do they have that much businesses but not that much people?
Yeah.
It's a lot of like shell corporations,
Yeah.
like just set up to
Corrupt corporations.
Yeah.
go
like a
there
lot of
to-
wealthy people, they
yeah,
have
lot
a
of wealthy,
business
yeah,
in
yeah.
Cayman Islands because
business
because
is the
Cayman
best word.
Islands is completely tax free. So
Yeah.
whatever you make, that's it. So they say they have a Cayman Island business, but it's just so they won't have to pay any U.S. taxes or
All right,
Canadian
well, for
taxes.
any future reference, this podcast is brought to you from Cayman
The
Islands.
Cayman
and
Islands.
we have no taxes to pay.
And it's not a bad thing on from the Cayman perspective. They're
Yeah.
just trying to attract like foreign business and stuff. Obviously, it's not illegal to do it. Obviously, in North America where you have a business offshore.
Yeah.
It's just they're trying to save money. But
Yeah.
some people have an issue with it. But
Oh
anyway,
So
that's
59,000 people?
59,000 people. But they had like they said the Cayman Islands had 60 they had 100,000 companies registered in the island. And the site I found that everyone was like, what a surprise that Cayman Islands has more businesses.
Yeah.
Well, because they're registered, that doesn't actually mean they're doing business.
Yeah,
right?
it's just it's set up as a business. Yeah,
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
yeah, it's
when
set up
I
as a
answered.
business. Yeah.
So I changed my answer, and that means that I got everything correct. So that's crazy. Wow.
So that's interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed that little
Yeah.
Caribbean trivia,
was
just a
good.
little bit of information about the Caribbean.
I like that.
So yeah, we gonna wipe the happiness.
I'm like, what is Tari getting at right now? Like, he's like, oh yeah, so we're gonna wipe
the happy.
But yeah, I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah, so this episode is part of a new series we're starting. We're trying to get into some of the issues that are particularly challenging that we face in the black community, and with a specific emphasis on the West Indian community as well. So we're gonna talk about some pretty heavy stuff today. So I just encourage you, whatever way you can after. Post any resources or any suggestions you have to help people who's going through the situations we'll be talking about.
And
It would
we
be
will
greatly
also
appreciated. And
we'll
we'll
also
post
be
some.
sharing the same information as well.
Yeah, thanks. We'll post some as well.
Yeah.
But
we'll post some. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the same information, but
yeah, but
some
it's going to be a heavy topic because today we're going to be talking about an issue that a lot of people in the Caribbean or just black people in general are faced with. We're talking about abuse amongst in relationships, particularly abuse of black women at the hands mostly of black men or whoever they're in a relationship with, right? So I'm gonna kick it off by asking you guys. So Terry, you're welcome to jump in as well. I'm gonna kick in.
Well, thanks for giving me permission.
But my first question for you guys is: do you think there is any problem with sort of domestic violence or abuse in the black community? That's where I want to start off. Do you guys think that's a problem currently? And if so, why?
I guess I think there's a problem in all and every community, but
Yeah.
I think there is definitely something to be said about the current climate of the black community when
Yeah.
it comes to domestic violence and stuff. But yeah, I think maybe we might have to deal with that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is just strictly anecdotal, like it's not based on any facts or anything like that. But from my experience, just growing up in the black community, there's always someone who has been abused by a man, or they know of someone who is being abused by a man. So I think I can't speak on behalf of the other communities because I don't know them as well. So I think on just in our community, I can say from my experience, it just seemed like it's a bad problem that's happening, that it seems to be very underreported, and if it is reported, especially in Grenada, if it is reported, nothing is being done about it. So you have people who are in this relationship who is being abused, but they're either staying in the relationship because they feel like they have no choice, or if they do go to the police or anything about it, nothing is being done about it. So I feel in our community, it's a major issue that that needs to be solved, because you have so many women who are in this abusive relationship.
And that sort of amplifies the sadness behind this whole thing, because when you think about those who are the victims of this, it's as if we're saying, yes, this is wrong that this is happening to you, but even the society is just like, we can't even help you. Like there's nothing that we can do for you.
Yeah, and how I see it too, with with what Troy and Terry saying, it's become such an issue or so prevalent that it's kind of like part of the culture. And I'm talking more like, especially within the West Indian kind of society, it's kind of like embedded in the culture, like where you'll hear people say, like, make like side comments like, oh, she man beat her or some kind of like, what do you mean, like, is that supposed to be accepted, like a man beating a wife, like his wife or something, so it's kind of like that's part of the problem, that it's kind of accepted in the culture, not like where it's like praise or it's like you're told you have to do it as a man, but it's just like if it's done, it's not really viewed as a big deal.
Yeah.
Because of how the culture is.
It's one of those situations where it's like, unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yeah,
like,
which is really bad.
Well, it even goes to the point. I remember when I was very young, like this was back in Grenada, I heard the comment made that, oh, if he doesn't hit you, he's not in love with you.
Wow.
Which was like, whoa. Even as a young kid, it was like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't feel like if a guy don't hit you, he doesn't love you. Yeah.
And like the first time that I heard that saying, it was in a movie. And I was just thinking, that's such a ridiculous thing. No one would ever say that.
Who would say that
in real life? And then I met somebody who actually like believed that statement. And I was like, wait, what? Like, how? What do you mean if he's not beating you, he doesn't love you? And that's a whole another conversation that we had. But
that's crazy. And I want to give you guys a little bit of a scenario here that because we want to just have like a conversation about this. Obviously, we know we're not naive. We know we're not going to solve the issue to in 30 minutes, right? Like,
that's true.
This is like a big problem, and we're just trying to just give a tip of the iceberg of what's been happening, right? So I'll give you guys a scenario. As you know, we're our podcast, we're filmmaker, doctor, businessman, lawyer, and working as a lawyer, I one of the opportunities I had was working in immigration law for a short time, right? And I remember doing asylum applications. So these are people that are seeking sort of like they come to the country as a means of like refugee, like rescue kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're just like, the reason that they allow them to stay in the country is like, you have no, like if you go back, you're at risk of losing your life, right? So I remember working on some papers and stuff for the lawyer. I was like his legal student at that time. And going through some applications from one of the Caribbean islands, right? And you need a good reason to stay in Canada, right?
Right.
Or to say even in America would be similar. You need a justifiable reason. And he was saying, one of the files I pulled up was from this Caribbean island, and the lady, her story was about being abused by her husband, like being battered, like day in, day out, she was abused, and she was saying that she's fearful to go back to her country at risk of losing her life. Like in a lot of, if you think of like someone who comes from, a war-torn country, they'll say, okay, I have to stay here because I'm going to lose my life. And I was thinking, okay, let's see what he has to say. And he was just like really nonchalant about it. He was just like, oh yeah, this one is gonna go through because they're from this island. And he's like, the Canadian authorities, what they do is they do sort of reports and like research on each country, right? So it's like you're coming from let's say you're coming from Belgium and you're saying you're scared for your life because it's a war-torn country. They'll be like, no, Belgium is pretty. They have, and they actually have people living in those places reporting back to know.
Oh, wow.
Because of course there's a lot of like fraud and stuff, right?
Yeah.
People want to come to the West, right? There's a lot of fraud, right? They might say their country has all these things or whatever, or like a gay person might say there's a lot of abuse against homosexuals, but there may not be none in their country they're coming from. So they have to know all those things. And the lawyer was just nonchalantly, he was just like, oh yeah, this is gonna work because everyone knows, like the Canadian authority, the system. They know this island. If you come from this island,
Oh.
they know that it's a lot of there's a lot of abused women, a lot of battered women, whether they're spouses or not. Like from the young age as a child, they know the Canadian system. They rated us as that. They rated that island as one of the places where the women can get the asylum because they can literally lose their life if they send them back home,
Wow.
back to that island.
Goodness.
So what do you guys think about that?
No, that's crazy. And I was just about to ask, as you were saying the whole nonchalant thing, with the people who live there who are reporting back to them, are they trying to like get them out of that country at all? Or
They're
no?
trying to create country profiles. So like, okay, it could be there. It's not just domestic abuse. It's like they create a profile of this country. Okay, this country has a lot of war. This country has a lot of crime against homosexuals or crime against women or whatever. So if someone comes from that country and they apply as like being abused because they're gay, because I'm just using that example because that's one of the ones that came up a lot, then they would say, yes, according to the profile,
Yeah.
this country does
Oh,
in
wow.
fact have this. So these people are just doing their jobs, living in the country, doing reports and stuff to find out, okay, to create a profile. And that was the profile they created for that island. And I was like, that kind of blew my mind how like he knew, he was just like, yeah, that's pretty much accepted that there's going to be a lot of abuse
Wow.
from that island. So,
My goodness.
yeah.
No, that's fascinating to me.
yeah, and
Just- yeah.
and later on I found out that
But
Go ahead.
it is fascinating, but at the same time, it's actually paint a pretty sad picture in my mind.
Mhm.
Is the fact that because if you figure if Canada is doing that, that means many other countries
Yeah.
are doing the same thing, right? So the fact that, you know, and I'm just showing like that, I don't know, like, let's say someone is from, you know, Barbados or something like that, and it's known that if someone say that they're being abused, it's most likely going to be true. It just paints a sad picture in my mind, is the fact that this is what a country is known for.
Yeah.
It should not be like that at all. And
Yeah.
it just paints a pretty sad picture that there's a profile for certain Caribbean countries that, you know, it is well known that abuse happened there.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it goes back to the whole this being, you know, part of the fabric of the culture. Because then how could a government, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if I'm like the prime minister or whatever of whatever island, and it's known that the people are leaving my country, women are leaving my country to seek asylum in another country because of abuse, then I should say, well, what are we doing to stop this,
Yeah.
right? Like that should be
Yeah.
like a red flag, like, hey, something's going on here. We have a problem.
Yeah.
But it's like,
It's
is that
crazy.
even being done?
Yeah, and it's funny because Terry's right. It's kind of spread. Like it's not just that the government of Canada knows about it. It's spread to different, like even the Canadian newspapers knows about it now because of like how prevalent. And like the Toronto Star, they did like a study and they did an article on this, right? And they said like in 2007, this same island that I mentioned had the third highest rate of recorded rapes in the world. So, and like 2 of the 3 places in the world were in the Caribbean
Wow.
in terms of like the recorded rapes, right? So I was like, wow. So you're telling me two of the top 3 were in the Caribbean, and there was a lot of reports in like in the Toronto Star and like other international outlets that kind of talk about this. So like internationally, it's known. People know this stuff is happening. But I want to read you guys a short excerpt from this one lady who was abused and she left and came to Canada because she had no choice, right?
Sorry, there's just one thing I want to just add in or just speak about. There's this whole, I don't know, there's like a sadness in like being in an island or in a country that is kind of small because everything
point.
becomes so concentrated.
Yeah.
Literally everything becomes so concentrated. And then also, say if you want help, you go to the police, right? And say if your husband is a police officer,
Yep, that
on the
happens.
island.
That
Yep.
happens.
that's such a terrifying position because you're literally asking your husband's friends
To arrest your
to
husband.
go and arrest your
His
husband.
friend, yeah.
His
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah.
To go and arrest him.
That's a really
Good
good
point.
point, right?
So
That's an excellent point.
it's really sad, but the whole just being a small island is just
Because where do you go to hide? Like, where can you run?
Yeah.
Like,
There's
at
nowhere.
least, like, if you use, like, Toronto, for example, if a woman is abused, she can go to some sort of shelter and her identity could be safe. It can be protected, right? But imagine, even if they were to have a shelter on the island, the woman walking
Yeah.
to the shelter, they talk. Like, people talk a lot.
Yeah,
They'll be like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, I see so-and-so going
Yeah,
by that
yeah,
shelter.
yeah,
So
yeah.
just like that, whoever
Boom.
the woman is running from just knows her whereabouts, right? The island is small. So, yeah, that's a really good point you raised, Troy. Like, with the size
Size.
of the island really intensifies the whole issue.
It's
Yeah.
a really it's a beautiful point, and I want to just like use a part from that same article. I'll get to the other thing I was going to read, but that same article, Troy, it says like on this tiny island, which is about half the size of Toronto. So the whole island is half the size of Toronto, right? And Toronto has a lot of people, but it's not like one of those spread out cities,
Yeah.
concentrated, right? So half the size of Toronto, there is also nowhere for a hunted woman to hide. And in this island, the country's only shelter, so they have one
They have one. Wow.
shelter,
Well, at least they have one.
can be only accessed by victims, right? And even if a woman obtains a protection order against her husband or against her abuser, she still remains at risk because most times they know where she is, where she lives,
Yeah.
where the only. So it's like it's right what you're saying. It's like there's not a lot of resources, and even if they do seek those resources, then they might be in even more trouble
Yeah.
because the people know, right? They know what they're doing, and everyone knows like
Yeah.
this person
Yeah.
did that, right?
It's
Yeah.
sad, but it's true. Like, it's really sad.
Yeah, and this lady, right? She's now 43. She came to Canada. She had so this part says Keturah had a tremulous woman whose girlish braids are now gray, right? She has a lot of pain from her childhood, which causes her dark brown eyes to swim with tears when she's talking about what happened, right?
Beautiful, poetic way to say
She was she was beaten, right? When she was younger, she was often tied up like a Thanksgiving turkey and trashed with everything from cable wires to broomsticks. And this is the part that really sent chills to my body. It says, she says, I can count the times that I went to the police and they just chased me away and say, go home and be a good girl.
Yeah, that sends chills down my body. That's right there, just like what's even more sad about it is that it's shocking of what she's saying, but not surprising. It's just like she's not the only person that experienced that. Like there's tons of cases where a person, especially in a small Caribbean island, where they'll go to the cop and tell them the issue, and they just get chased away. And as I said, it's shocking that that's happening, but not surprising.
Wow.
And then the thing is, what I saw too in a few articles that I read, not just it's sort of they kind of tell them you look for it kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Oh my
The actual
goodness, yeah.
like I was telling Trudy earlier, like one of the articles was saying the cops actually tell some of the girls, what did you do to like this to get this beating?
Yeah.
Like,
So
what
essentially-
did you do to get it? Like
Essentially, victim blaming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Victim blaming, yeah. Wow.
Cool.
yeah, so it is prevalent, and it is something that we really have to make it aware, because one of the things I was seeing is that it's really good when men talk about it, right?
Okay.
So like you see how we're talking about it and we're saying like it is a problem and it's something that we
Are
need
you
to.
saying that Judy's opinion on this
No,
is
no.
honest?
No, but it's like, okay, an analogy they used is that like whenever like something with Black Lives Matter happens where like black people are abused or beat up by the cops. Like, some of the white people might say, but we need more evidence. We need the video. We need to know what's really happening.
What did he do?
What did he do
Of
to
course,
deserve it, right?
Yeah.
So they were saying a lot of black men in the black community do the same thing, but they're just like, oh, why are you putting down our black men trying to make us look so bad? What did she do? Maybe she really annoyed him. Maybe, some girls, they like to quarrel. They like to make noise in your face. So it's like that kind of justification. But they were saying it's more powerful. Think about it. If some true white allies came up and said, you know what? Regardless of what he did, this is wrong to treat black people like that. That's why they were saying black men on the same have to say, you know what? Regardless, even if, he was my friend or my boy or whatever, it doesn't matter. What you do is wrong and this needs to stop. This needs to be put an end to. Like, we can't be calling our wives or our mothers or our sisters queens, but then, abusing them or hearing our friends talk about abusing or talk down about women and just kind of letting it pass. So it's like we have to do something as well. Because the women are doing what they can to end this, right? They're trying, but they need the men as well.
It just goes to show that it's this lifelong sort of battle between the black man and the black woman, where the black man isn't really showing up for the black woman the way the black woman like relentlessly does. Like she always does, So
yeah, that's I have a cousin that would love what you just said because that's like her life. That's like her life. She lives that because I know sometimes she even has a hard time supporting like when we're cheering for like, defund the police or whatever, because she's like, black women are standing behind the black men so much, but then a lot of these black men are going back and like abusing their spouses and stuff like that. And it's like this one girl, she was one of the biggest, I forgot her name right now, but she was one of the biggest supporters, like rallying at the front of with George Floyd and stuff. And then she ended up getting killed by like a guy. He abused her and it was a black guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, like you guys are behind us. We need to be behind you too.
There are a lot of fights that we have to fight. Like this isn't a 2D battle.
No.
This is by far like a 6D, like crazy multi-dimensional battle. Like we're fighting Black Lives Matter. Like we're fighting for Black Lives Matter. We're fighting for the equality of black women and the protection of said black women again and from black men. Like it's just,
and it's not mutually exclusive. It's not like just because I'm supporting I'm saying Black Lives Matter doesn't mean I can't then say like some black men need to step up. I know we took it from the Caribbean to more North America, but we can still say, okay, especially in our like we are a West Indian community, right? We can still say, okay, the men are like West Indians need to step up, right? We have to be examples too, but like we have to do something about it, right?
We do.
Tarek, that's a really good point because I just don't believe that you can fight two battles at the same time. Obviously, you want Black Lives Matters, right? Like you want that to be at the forefront. At the same time, if you care about Black lives, you should care about Black woman lives.
It just makes sense.
You can't just be like, well, we only care about this portion. No, it's all encompassing. Like if you care about Black Lives Matter, you should care about Black woman lives also. And we have some black men, who are not standing behind that cause. They just don't find it as important. But we can fight both at the same time. I don't understand that.
Yeah, we can. We can fight both. We have two hands.
Yeah, Terry, you're fired up.
Fight, like,
You're burning up.
No. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is equality for Black women. They're undertreated so much, like they're overlooked. They're fighting on behalf of our black men, and we just push them aside. It burns me inside, especially the fact, being a father to a Black woman. I want the world to be equal for her. I don't want to be in a situation where, I hear some guys abusing her and it's not being given the attention it needs. No, it needs to be at the forefront also. Like,
Oh no, Terry, if I am your daughter's uncle, for sure, it'll get my attention, for sure. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If somebody's beating, no, it'll get my attention.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be like some guy will be like, well, we shouldn't bring up the fact that, because we're really focusing on Black Lives Matter. It's
Yeah.
like, what? That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just kind of bring it together, I wanted to know, and as I said, like, it's really important to hammer this home that, like, we cannot solve this injustice, but we just want to kind of bring light to it. It's a fact that it is happening, and it is a fact that it is prevalent in the West Indian community, but it's also a fact that there's a lot of good, strong West Indian men out there that are doing what they're doing. The in most cases, it's like there's more of that, right? But it's like there's also a high occurrence of like domestic abuse. You know, we didn't even go into like emotional abuse. We're just talking about like the actual, because there's like all a bunch of different levels to this. There's psychological abuse and stuff, which is happening a lot, financial abuse. But we're just talking about like, you know, specifically the battering, the raping and stuff.
Yeah.
The ones that can lead to, and many times do lead to death, right?
Yeah.
One thing this comedian was saying, he's like, you always hear guys talk about a crazy ex-girlfriend, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, you very rarely hear girls talk about a crazy ex-boyfriend. And he's like, the truth is, because a lot of them don't make it out. And I was like,
Oh my
Wow.
gosh,
oh,
that's
he
dark.
was
Wow.
he was a
some dark
comedian,
humor.
right? But
Oh,
it's
God.
like it's kind of
But it's true.
It's kind of true, right?
Wow.
And
So true.
and and you know, just before we close, one of the readings I found, it was about this lady, and she had called the cops 3 times, and in January of this year, she called the cops 3 times, and she told them, this is in the Caribbean. She told them that, like, I think my spouse is gonna kill me. He threatened to kill me. He's gonna do something to me, and they had a warrant and everything. But for some reason, they didn't follow up on it. They just thought, whatever, you know? And sure enough, like, she did 25th, 26th, and 27th of January, she called the cops. And by the end, before the January ended, she was dead.
Wow.
They found out that she was killed because, like, the cops, the culture, the people just kind of dismissed it, right? So I was just like, man, I don't want that to continue. So whatever we can do, you know, to just get it out there that it is happening. And like, you always, especially if you're here in Canada, you always have, you know, resources you can use, people you can run to just kind of get out. It's better to just be like, you know what, especially if your life is at danger, you know what, I need to leave this situation. Don't give them another chance to make it worse.
Yeah.
To get out as
And a
much as
point
you
I
can.
wanted to raise, which is kind of difficult, is sometimes what tends to happen, especially in these abusive relationships, is the woman is dependent on
Yes.
the man.
Good point.
So it could be like a
That's
financial dependency, you know, things like that. So for her, she's thinking, oh my gosh, I have these 4 kids. I don't have a job. Maybe she didn't finish high school.
Yeah.
And he's abusing her. But then for her, she's like, man, if I leave, then how am I going to take care of the kids? How am I going to support them? What's going to happen? Where are we going to live? And sometimes these men, they actually use
Of
those
course.
arguments to
Yeah.
hold women back. Because when you think about it, to a rational person, you would say, if somebody's abusing you, just leave.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
times,
Good
when
point.
you look at the statistics, these women in abusive relationships, they tend to go back or they
Yeah.
remain in the relationship.
Yeah.
And the reason is because of that dependence, right?
And they're being fed lies on
Yes.
a regular basis,
Yep.
like a
Yeah.
regular
Yeah.
basis.
And
So-
it's like a learned
point.
helplessness. It's like, you know, they've done like psychological experiments, like where they have a dog and every time the dog tries to escape, it gets like shocked. So the dog gets to a point where it doesn't even try to escape. The door of the cage could be open.
wide open.
The dog would not leave.
Oh,
Why?
wow.
Because it's a learned helplessness. And that's sometimes the problem for some of these women.
Yeah.
They become so helpless in these relationships that they're just like, I can't leave. Like,
Yeah.
even if I want to, I just can't, right? And it also speaks to the point Troy raised earlier. Even if you try leaving, the island is so small.
Yeah.
Where are
and
you
everybody
going?
knows. Yeah,
You go to the police, and the sad thing is, because the abuse is so prevalent on the island, it can be a case where the woman goes to a police officer, and that police officer beats his wife as well.
well,
Yep.
that's
So,
actually no, but
that's what happens.
That's why a lot of, because if I come to Troy and I'm like, yo, someone is stealing from me, and Troy's a authority, but he steals a lot of stuff, he'll just be like, yeah, well, it's not that big.
Don't
of a-
bother.
you
Go
know?
back. Go back home.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah, you
So
brush
that's
it
what
under.
happened. So just to wrap up, and I just want to take one point from you guys. What takeaway would you have about this whole situation, or what's something you would tell someone who is in that situation or knows someone in that situation? Just one quick takeaway for you guys.
For me, like, I just want to jump right in and be like, black men, we gotta stand up for black women more. Like, that's just it.
Well said.
Yeah, I'm on the same token as Troy. I don't think the burden is on the woman. They have done enough. I think it's on black men to rise up and do what's right. For the case to be lowered, for this to stop, it's on black men. They hold the responsibility to stop this, and they have the capability to stop it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. My thing is just, as a culture, as West Indians, we're proud of the West Indies. We love the Caribbean, but we need to demolish this culture of abuse. It cannot be something that we just stay silent about. If you see someone, a man, abusing his wife, like, it shouldn't just be like, well, that's not my business and I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah.
No, like, you need to do something. Encourage these women who are being abused to leave if they can, right?
Yeah.
As Tyree said, there are certain things in place. Like, if you're on an island where, the abuse is so prevalent, asylum might be available to you. Try to seek that. Leave the country if you can. Do whatever it takes to protect yourself, your children, and let's stop this cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Could I just say one more point too? Because I know, there's people who are probably thinking, but other cultures does the same thing.
Yeah.
And it is true. But honestly, I don't mean to sound mean or whatnot. I do not care about the other cultures. I care about our culture. And I think it's a problem. I can only speak on our culture, and it needs to stop. I do not want to see a black queen be treated like that.
Yeah, and that's the type of racism that is accepted.
Yeah, that's
because
good. Yeah,
the
what you
reason
just
why
said.
I say it's the racism that's accepted is because you are looking at it and you're addressing it from a place of self-preservation, and you're not, and there is no malice against any other race. Like, when you say that you don't care about other races, it's just more so you want your race to kind of just be doing the right
Do
things.
better.
Yeah.
Not even be better, just do the right things.
Yeah.
Period. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to close it off, I want to leave you guys with this. In 2015, the United Nations, they conducted a study on domestic violence in the Caribbean, and one of the closing points they said is that combating this type of violence comes up against powerful cultural constructs and internal and external conflicts within the Caribbean. So it's like there is it's a system set up, like it's kind of like we talked about. A lot of times it's accepted in the society or whatever the case may be. That's the construct that they live in, right? So we have to do, so my takeaway is that we have to do what we can to change that setup or that kind of expectation that it's just okay, it's normal. We have to speak out against it because yes, the UN is right. There are like powerful systemic setup, like with the patriarchy and everything, that kind of makes it acceptable, but no, we can do better. And the last thing I would say is talk to the women in your lives, because one of the things I saw over and over is that it's more than 50% have been abused in some way. So it's like either a woman, like a West Indian woman, or just in general have been abused, or they know someone who's been abused, another friend of theirs. So talk to them and just do whatever you can to help out, like to be there for them, because a lot of times when they do go and complain about it, it's like they don't have any like sort of support. So do what you can. All of us, we can do what we can to be a support for the women in our lives.
Yeah, and
Well said.
yeah, and with that being said, we just want to thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in today and listening. And again, if you need any resources or anything like that, we're gonna have them up here. We're also gonna have them in the description down below. Anything else you want to add, Tyra or Trudy?
Well, we'll do a disservice if we don't say this. If you are in a relationship where you are experiencing any type of abuse, be it physical, emotional, psychological, financial, whatever abuse, seek out help. Find a shelter, find some sort of resources, especially those of you who are, fortunate to live in a country like Canada or the United States. There are things in place. Find the help you need.
All right. So with that, we're going to say bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.